I was just trying to relax after a long day when she suddenly dropped the most insane question I had ever heard in my life. Human, can you do this to me from behind? I choked on my drink, nearly spilled it all over myself. For a second, I thought I misheard her. Maybe she meant something else. Maybe her alien accent had twisted the words into something they weren't supposed to be. But no, she was staring at me, her large, luminous violet eyes completely serious. Wait, what? I croaked, blinking at her. She tilted her head, her long, dark indigo hair cascading over one shoulder as she leaned in closer. I could smell the faint, sweet scent that always clung to her, something like a mix between jasmine and something exotic I couldn't place. I said, she repeated, slower this time, like I was the one who didn't understand. Can you do this to me from behind? Yup. She meant exactly what I thought she meant. I swallowed hard. Thalexa, you do realize what that sounds like, right? Thalexa, my unexpected alien houseguest, blinked at me, her deep blue skin glowing faintly under the dim light of my apartment. Her expression was a mix of confusion and curiosity, like I had just told her the sky wasn't blue. It sounds like what? She asked, genuinely puzzled. I ran a hand down my face, trying to figure out how the hell to explain this to her without dying of embarrassment. Well, I started, choosing my words carefully. When a human hears someone say something like that, it's usually, very intimate. Thalexa's face brightened. Yes. It is a deeply intimate act among my people. Oh. Oh no. She was completely serious. I sat up straighter on the couch, suddenly very aware of how close she was. Thalexa, I hesitated, forcing myself to meet her gaze. Do you actually know what you're asking me to do? She let out a soft hum, the ridges along her arms glowing slightly, a sign of anticipation I'd come to recognize. Her kind, the Zalari, had a natural bioluminescence that shifted with their emotions. Right now, she was glowing soft lavender, which meant, oh, crap. She was feeling affectionate. I know exactly what I am asking, human, she purred, scooting even closer. It is the most sacred form of bonding in Zalari culture. If you accept, it means you will have me as your devoted partner forever. I nearly blacked out. Wait. I held up a hand, trying to stop my brain from short-circuiting. Are you telling me that if we do this, then you'd be what? My alien wife. Thalexa beamed, her sharp canines showing in a way that made my stomach do weird flips. Yes. Exactly. I did black out for half a second. Mentally, anyway. She just sat there, staring at me expectantly, completely unbothered by the insanity of what she had just proposed. Like this was the most natural conversation in the world. I, on the other hand, was struggling not to have an existential crisis. Okay, hold on. I breathed, rubbing my temples. This is the lot. You can't just drop something like that on me out of nowhere. Thalexa frowned, her glowing ridges pulsing with confusion. Why not? Among my kind, when a Zalari female chooses a mate, she must make her intentions clear. And I have chosen you. My brain short-circuited again. She said it so matter-of-factly, like she was announcing what she wanted for dinner. I swallowed. Hard. You chose me? Yes, she said simply. From the moment you saved my life. My breath hitched. That had been months ago. I'd found her injured and alone, collapsed outside the abandoned research facility near the outskirts of town. She had been barely conscious, her normally smooth skin covered in deep gashes, her breathing ragged. I hadn't even known what she was back then, only that she wasn't human and she needed help. So, I'd taken her in, fixed her up, gave her a place to stay. And apparently, at some point in all of that, she had decided I was her mate. I had no idea how to respond to that. She watched me closely, her expression softening. You are kind, strong, protective. You gave me warmth when I had none. No Zalari male has ever shown me such devotion. I was just helping, I muttered, feeling strangely flustered. Thalexa's eyes twinkled. Yes. And now, I will help you in the way my species knows best. The way she said that sent a full-body shiver down my spine. Alexa, I started, trying one last time to regain control of this conversation. I think we have some cultural misunderstandings going on here. Her glowing markings flickered again, shifting to a deep pink, which I had learned meant amusement. Do we? Yes, I said, feeling desperate. Because in human culture, things like this usually take time. We don't just decide to become bonded forever based on one request. Alexa cocked her head. How long do humans take? I sighed. Sometimes years. Her face fell. Years? But that is so inefficient. I groaned. It's not about efficiency. It's about emotions. Connection. Making sure both people want the same thing. Alexa's lips curved into a knowing smile. And do you? I opened my mouth, then froze. She was staring at me, eyes gleaming, completely confident in her words. And for the first time since this insane conversation started, I hesitated. Because deep down, some part of me wanted to say yes. I shook my head, trying to push that thought away. Alexa, I'm just saying this is a big decision. She hummed again, tapping her chin. Then, after a moment, she grinned. Then I shall convince you. I blinked. Wait, what? Before I could react, she crawled into my lap, her warm, soft body pressing against mine as she whispered into my ear. I will make you want me, human. And when I do, you will never wish to part from me again. I forgot how to breathe. And just like that, my quiet life was over. I needed air.
And space.
Preferably a football field's worth of distance between me and Alexa, who was still sitting in my lap, staring at me with those mischievous violet eyes. You're not making this easy, I muttered, trying to keep my hands firmly at my sides. Alexa only smirked, her glowing ridges pulsing with amusement. Of course not. Why would I? I sighed and gently lifted her off me, placing her back onto the couch beside me. She allowed it, but the moment I moved away, she pouted, her long, indigo tail curling around my arm as if she refused to let me escape completely. You are resisting, she noted, tilting her head. Are you afraid of me? Afraid? I let out a dry laugh.
No.
Just trying to figure out if I'm dreaming or not. Her fingers traced small circles on my arm. It is real, human. And I meant every word. I swallowed. Yeah, that was the problem. I ran a hand through my hair, exhaling slowly. All right. I think I need some clarification here, Alexa. You said that if we, mated, you'd be my devoted partner for life? She nodded eagerly. Yes. And that's just a thing your people do? Another nod. Once a Zalari female selects her mate, she commits to him completely. Mind, body, and soul. I fought the shiver running down my spine at the way she said that. Okay, I breathed. So, what happens if I don't accept? For the first time, her smile faltered. Her glowing ridges dimmed slightly, shifting to a softer blue. Hurt. Then I will remain in bonded, she murmured. Unclaimed. I felt something in my chest tighten at the way she said that. Like the idea genuinely upset her. Alexa glanced away. Among my kind, bonding is sacred. It is not a casual thing, nor is it taken lightly. We do not experiment. We do not select mates we do not intend to keep. I frowned. So, when you say for life, you mean... She turned back to me, her expression serious. I would belong to you. Entirely. My throat went dry. I couldn't even form words. She smiled slightly, as if she could sense my reaction. It is not a burden if that is what you fear. I let out a weak laugh. It kind of sounds like one. She actually laughed at that, a soft musical sound. It is an honor. And a pleasure. My kind are deeply loyal to our chosen mates. We live to please them, serve them, and cherish them. I blinked. Serves. She leaned in, her eyes hooded. However they wish. I swallowed hard. She was not making this easy. I clear my throat, desperate to keep my brain from spiraling. So, let's say, I do agree to this. What exactly happens to you? Alexa's ridges pulsed with excitement. My body will recognize you as my bonded mate. It will change to accommodate you physically, emotionally, intimately. That was a lot to unpack. I leaned forward, rubbing my temples. So, there's some biological component to this? What do you mean change? Thelexa gave me a slow, knowing smile. Do you wish for a demonstration? My breath hitched. She took my silence as an invitation and lifted her hands to her collarbone, tracing her fingers over her own skin. Zalari females are highly adaptive to their mates, she purred. We do not remain static. We become exactly what you desire. I was definitely having trouble breathing now. She shifted closer, her fingers ghosting over my wrist. My scent, my touch, my form, they will mold to please you. If you crave softness, I will become delicate. If you seek something more durable, I will strengthen. I force myself to stay still. Her voice lowered to a whisper. Even my voice will change if that is what pleases you. A soft shiver rolled down my spine. This was dangerous. Every single thing about this conversation was a carefully crafted trap, and I was one wrong move away from falling right into it. I exhaled sharply. That's a lot to process, Thelexa. She watched me, searching my expression. Do I frighten you? No, I admitted. You fascinate me. But I also don't want to rush into something I don't understand. Her glowing ridges softened to a warm golden hue, satisfaction. Then I shall help you understand, she murmured. I will teach you everything about me. I exhaled slowly. And what if I say no?
She paused.
Her ridges dimmed slightly, but her expression remained steady. Then I will accept your decision, she said quietly. I would never force a bond upon an unwilling mate. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. That was oddly reassuring. I studied her for a long moment. And if I say yes? A slow, sultry smile curved her lips. Then you will never be alone again. Her voice was silk and promise, wrapping around me like an intoxicating spell. God help me, I was starting to believe her. I forced myself to stand, needing the space. Thelexa's eyes followed me, but she remained seated, giving me that knowing, patient look. You are resisting, she said again. I sighed. I just need time, okay? She nodded slowly. Then, to my absolute surprise, she leaned forward and placed a soft kiss on my wrist. It was light, barely a brush of her lips, but I felt a spark jolt through me like an electric current. She pulled back, watching my reaction with utter satisfaction. Take all the time you need, she murmured, her voice dripping with certainty. But know this, human. You are already mine. My pulse roared in my ears. I turned away, heading toward my bedroom, needing a solid barrier between us before I lost my damn mind. But as I shut the door, I could still hear her soft, amused laughter from the other side. I was in so much trouble. I barely got any sleep that night. How the hell could I? Thelexa's words kept replaying in my head, over and over again, like a dangerous melody I couldn't shake. You are already mine. The way she said it, so certain, so confident, like it was already set in stone. I'd spent months with her, convinced we were just roommates, maybe even friends.
But now?
Now she'd made it painfully clear she wanted something more. And the worst part? Some deep, primal part of me wanted to say yes. I groaned, running a hand down my face. I needed a distraction, something to keep my mind off Thelexa and her dangerously tempting words. So, I did what any sane man would do. I went to the kitchen to make coffee. Big mistake. The moment I stepped into the room, I found Thelexa perched on my kitchen counter, legs crossed, watching me with an infuriatingly smug expression. Good morning, human, she purred. My pulse spiked. She looked different. Not in a drastic way, but in a way that made my stomach do weird flips. Her silky indigo hair was a little more tousled, her luminous violet eyes slightly hooded, and, oh God, was she wearing my shirt? I blinked hard. She was. She was absolutely wearing one of my shirts, and it was way too big on her, draping over her shoulders like some oversized robe, falling just past her thighs. I swallowed. Morning. The Lexa's glowing ridges pulsed a warm, teasing pink. Did you sleep well? She asked, her voice far too amused. I shot her a flat look. You know damn well I didn't. She smirked, swinging her legs slightly. I suspected as much. I narrowed my eyes. Are you enjoying this? She tilted her head, pretending to think. Immensely. I groaned, turning away to start the coffee machine, desperately needing caffeine to survive this morning. The Lexa, of course, didn't make it easy. You seem tense, she mused, hopping down from the counter and patting up behind me. I froze. She was close. Too close. Her warmth ghosted against my back, and I swore I could feel her soft breath against my neck. Perhaps I should help you relax, she murmured. I gripped the edge of the counter so hard my knuckles turned white. The Lexa, my voice came out strained. Yes, humans? I exhaled slowly. What are you doing? Testing your limits. God help me. I turned around, intending to put some space between us, but the moment I did, the Lexa pressed a single finger against my chest. You flinch when I touch you, she observed. I scowled. That's because you keep catching me off guard. She hummed, trailing her finger lower. Perhaps. Or perhaps you are simply not used to being wanted so openly. I sucked in a sharp breath. She wasn't wrong. Her people, the Zalari, were blunt about their desires. They didn't play games. They didn't beat around the bush. If they wanted something, they claimed it. And right now, the Lexa was making it very, very clear she wanted me. I exhaled sharply, stepping back. Okay. You win. You've made your point. Her eyes twinkled with amusement. Have eyes? Yes, I muttered, rubbing my temples. Loud and clear. She beamed. Good, she said, stepping back slightly, giving me space, but not much. I shook my head, trying to regain some semblance of control. All right, I said, leveling her with a look. So, let me get this straight. You want me? For life?
Yes.
And if I agree, you'll be completely devoted to me? She nodded. Mind, body, and soul. I exhaled, still struggling to wrap my head around it. And what if I'm not ready? She smiled, her glowing ridges shifting to a patient gold. Then I will wait, she said simply. I blinked. Just like that. She stepped forward, pressing a hand against my chest again, but this time, softer. I have already chosen you, she murmured. My heart will not change. My throat went dry. I could tell she meant it. Every word. There was no hesitation, no doubt. She was all in. And that was terrifying. Because I wasn't sure if I was ready for that kind of devotion. But God, some part of me wanted it.
Badly.
I cleared my throat, forcing myself to stay rational.
All right.
Well, if you're serious about this, then I need to understand something. The Lexa perked up. Yes. I hesitated. Then, finally, I asked, why me? Her expression softened. She reached up, cupping my face gently, her thumb tracing over my cheek in a way that made my chest tighten.
Because you are kind, she said.
Because you are strong. Because, when I was weak, you protected me. And, because no matter how much you resist. She leaned in, whispering against my lips. I can feel that you want me too. I stopped breathing. For a long moment, we just stood there, her warm body pressed against mine, her soft breath fanning against my lips. All I had to do was close the gap.
Just lean in.
Just say yes. But then, the coffee machine beeped. The spell shattered. I jerked back, flustered as hell, and the Lexa let out a quiet, knowing laugh. Saved by the machine, she mused. I cleared my throat, turning away so she wouldn't see the effect she had on me. I need coffee, I muttered. The Lexa just smiled, her violet eyes twinkling with amusement. Of course, human. I didn't miss the way her glowing ridges pulsed with triumph as she sauntered out of the kitchen, her tail flicking playfully behind her. This woman was going to be the death of me. The rest of the day was pure agony. No matter what I did, the Lexa was always there. And not in a casual roommate kind of way. No, she was hunting me. I'd sit on the couch. She'd curl up beside me, Far too close. I'd go to the kitchen. She'd lean over my shoulder, brushing against me just enough to drive me insane. I'd try to focus on literally anything else. She'd stretch in ways that were definitely intentional. It was like she had one goal, and one goal only: break me. And the worst part? It was working. I lasted until sundown before I finally snapped. All right, that's it. What the hell are you doing? Thalexa, who had been lazily lounging on the couch, tilted her head at me innocently.
Being near you, she said.
I enjoy your presence. I clenched my jaw. Yeah, well, you're making it really hard for me to think straight. Her glowing ridges pulsed a deep, satisfied violet. Good. I groaned. This woman was going to drive me insane. I ran a hand through my hair, pacing. Thalexa, listen. I get it.
Your people are direct.
You don't play games. You see something you want, you take it. She nodded, clearly pleased that I understood.
Exactly, she said.
I pointed at her. Well, humans? We don't exactly work that way.
We need time. Space.
Self-control. She hummed, standing up and slowly walking toward me.
Do you?
Because I have been watching you, human. And your body does not seem to agree with your words. I stiffened. She stopped right in front of me, close enough that I could smell the faint, intoxicating scent of her. I see the way you look at me, she whispered. I swallowed hard. I hear the change in your breathing, she continued, trailing a slow finger down my arm. My pulse pounded. Her glowing ridges pulsed a warm, teasing gold. And just now, you snapped. You're losing control, aren't you? I clenched my jaw. That's not the point. She smiled, leaning in. Then what is? I exhaled sharply, stepping back, but she followed. I don't want to rush into something I don't fully understand, I said. I don't want to wake up tomorrow and regret it. Her expression softened slightly. You think you will regret me? I hesitated. I think I'll regret making a decision purely based on emotions. Or instincts. Thalexa studied me, her violet eyes sharp. Then, suddenly, her glowing ridges shifted, a deep, challenging crimson. Oh no! I recognized that look. I'd seen it before. She was about to test me. Thalexa stepped back, folding her arms.
Very well, she said.
If self-control is what you desire, then let us test it. I frowned. Test it how? She smiled. Way too innocently. If you truly wish to resist me, then surely you will have no problem sleeping beside me tonight. My brain short-circuited. What? She shrugged. If you are in control of yourself, then sleeping in the same bed should not be an issue, yes? Oh, she was evil. I swallowed. That's not fair. She raised a brow. Why not? If you are unaffected by me, this should not bother you.
I was so affected by her.
But I refused to admit it. I crossed my arms.
Fine.
You know what? Fine. If that's what it takes to prove a point, then let's do it. Thalexa beamed. I was so screwed. I stared at the ceiling, rigid as a damn statue. Beside me, Thalexa was the exact opposite. She had made herself very comfortable. Her back was to me, but I could feel her soft warmth, hear the gentle shift of her breathing. And God help me, I was so aware of her. The bed felt too small. The air felt too warm. My entire body was on high alert. I squeezed my eyes shut, forcing myself to stay still. I could do this. I could absolutely do this. 5 minutes later, I was on the verge of madness. Because then Thalexa moved. She let out a quiet, sleepy hum and shifted back, pressing against me. I tensed. Oh no. Oh no.
She was so soft. So warm.
And then, she sighed contently. Comfortable, she murmured, clearly awake. I let out a slow, pained breath. You're doing this on purpose, I accused. She let out a soft, musical laugh. I am simply sleeping, human, she said, her voice filled with pure mischief. I clenched my jaw. I hate you, I muttered. She giggled. And then, as if she hadn't already tested me enough, she reached back and grabbed my hand, and then pulled it around her waist. I stopped breathing. Her tail curled around my leg. Her fingers traced gentle circles over my skin. And then, she sighed contently again. "This is nice," she murmured. I was going to die. I was actually genuinely going to die. My body was on fire. My pulse was out of control. And the worst part? I didn't want to move. I wanted to stay exactly where I was. Holding her. Feeling her. Breathing her in. Oh no. Oh no no no. I was losing.
Badly.
The Lexa must have felt it. Because then, she turned her head slightly, whispering one last thing that absolutely shattered my self-control. "Still resisting, human?" My brain short-circuited. And in that moment I knew. I had already lost. The silence in the room was deafening. I lay there, motionless, my body tense, my mind a battlefield of logic and instinct. The Lexa was still curled against me, warm and soft, her scent wrapping around my senses like a drug. Every slow breath she took, every slight movement of her fingers against my skin, sent a new wave of heat surging through me. I was losing. No, I had already lost. Her words still echoed in my mind. Still resisting, human?
No.
No, I wasn't resisting anymore. A slow, steady exhale left my lips, my grip on her waist tightening slightly. The Lexa stilled for a moment, as if waiting, listening, sensing the change in me. I felt her tail flick lazily against my leg, a silent challenge, daring me to make the next move. I did. Carefully, I shifted closer, pressing against her, my body molding to hers in a way that felt far too natural. Her breathing hitched, just barely, but I caught it. A slow smile tugged at my lips. She wasn't unaffected either. I let my fingers trail up her side, brushing the hem of the oversized shirt she had stolen from me. Her skin was smooth beneath my fingertips, warm, inviting. I felt the subtle ripple of her muscles as she reacted to my touch, her ridges pulsing between gold and violet, anticipation and something deeper. "The Lexa," I murmured, my voice lower than I expected. She turned slightly, just enough for me to catch the edge of her glowing gaze. "Yes, humans?" I swallowed. "You're playing a dangerous game." She smiled, slow and knowing. "Am I winning?" I didn't answer. Instead, I leaned in, my lips hovering just above the curve of her shoulder. Her breath hitched again. Good. Two could play this game. I let my lips graze her skin, just barely. A soft sigh escaped her, and her fingers curled around my wrist. "You are learning quickly," she murmured, her voice slightly uneven. I smirked. "Had a good teacher?" Her glowing ridges flared a deep violet. "Then let us see how well you have learned." She moved faster than I expected, twisting in my grip, facing me fully. My breath caught as her violet eyes locked onto mine, burning with something primal, undeniable. The space between us vanished as she pressed closer, her hands sliding up my chest, fingers tracing every dip and ridge. I should have stopped her. I should have kept some form of control. But the truth was, I didn't want it anymore. So when she tilted her head, just barely parting her lips, I met her halfway. The kiss was slow at first. A test, a taste, a question. Then it became an answer. The Lexa sighed into the kiss, pressing against me more, her body fitting against mine like she had belonged there from the start. Her fingers tangled in my hair, her tail coiling around my leg with unmistakable possession. I was hers, and God help me, she was mine. A quiet, pleased sound rumbled in her throat as she deepened the kiss, her ridges pulsing a brilliant violet. I could feel the barely restrained hunger in the way she clung to me, the way her body moved against mine, desperate to close every inch of space between us. I was done pretending I didn't want this. Didn't want her. I rolled her beneath me, pinning her gently against the mattress, my hand bracing beside her head. Her glowing gaze flickered up at me, filled with heat, challenge, and something that made my chest tighten.
Trust.
She had chosen me from the moment we met, and now I was choosing her back. The Lexa lifted a hand, cupping my cheek, her thumb brushing against my skin with something almost reverent. "I have waited," she whispered. I swallowed, not waiting anymore. Her lips curled into a smile.
No.
You are not. Then she pulled me down to her again, and this time, I didn't hold back. The world outside didn't exist. There was only her warmth, her breath, the way she moved against me like she had always belonged there. Thalexa's ridges pulsed a deep, satisfied violet as she lay against my chest, her fingers tracing slow, idle patterns across my skin. Her tail curled lazily around my leg, holding me there as if she were afraid I would move. I wasn't going anywhere. Neither of us spoke for a long time. There was no need. The air between us was thick with something unspoken but understood, a shift, a bond, something far stronger than just physical attraction. I exhaled, letting my hand skim down her back, feeling the faint tremor that ran through her body at my touch. You are mine now, human, she murmured, her voice low, sated. I smirked, tilting my head to look at her. Is that so? She lifted her head, her glowing violet eyes locking onto mine. You do not dispute it? I didn't. I knew what she meant. This wasn't some casual thing to her. To her species, to her culture, what we just did wasn't just an act. It was a choice. A commitment. And I had made it, fully aware of what it meant. Thalexa shifted, sliding up just enough that she could press a soft, lingering kiss against my lips. It was different this time, gentler. Less about fire and hunger, and more about something deeper, something unshakable. I let my fingers trail up her arm, feeling the slight shiver that followed. She pulled back slightly, studying my face with an expression I couldn't quite name. Was this what you feared? She asked softly. I exhaled, brushing a thumb over her cheek. No. Then what? I hesitated, my fingers stilling against her skin. How could I explain it? That it wasn't about fear of this, of her? That it was about what came after? I had never been the kind of guy to rush into things. I had always believed in thinking things through, weighing the risks. But this? Thalexa? There was no thinking through what had just happened. No weighing risks. There was only feeling. And for once, I had let myself feel. I met her gaze, my voice quieter than before. I was afraid of losing control. Thalexa tilted her head slightly, considering that. Then she gave me a slow, knowing smile. And now, I smirked, letting my fingers slide down her side, enjoying the way her breath caught slightly. Now, I don't mind losing it. Her ridges pulsed a deep violet. Good. She settled against me again, content, warm, completely at ease. I felt her tail curl around me a little tighter, as if to seal the claim she had made. And maybe, just maybe, I had claimed her too. The morning light filtered through the window, casting a warm glow over the room. I stirred, blinking against the brightness, my body still heavy with exhaustion, but it was the warm weight pressed against me that held my attention. Thalexa. She was still curled against me, her arm draped over my chest, her tail lazily wrapped around my leg. Her breathing was slow and steady, her ridges pulsing in a soft, relaxed violet. I didn't want to move. For the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. But reality was creeping back in. What happens now? I shifted slightly, running a hand through my hair as I stared at the ceiling. Last night had changed everything. I knew it. She knew it. There was no going back to the way things were before. A soft hum broke through my thoughts. You are thinking too much, human. I turned my head to find Thalexa watching me, her lips curled in amusement. I smirked. And you can tell that how? She shifted, her fingers lightly tracing along my chest. Your heart beats faster when you worry. I exhaled a laugh. Guess I can't hide anything from you, huh? She propped herself up on one elbow, studying me with serious but gentle eyes. If you wish to speak, then speak. I hesitated. Did I even have the right words? I reached out, brushing my fingers along her cheek, watching as her ridges flared a deep violet at the touch. I just want to know what this means for you. Her expression softened. You already know what it means. I swallowed. Say it anyway. She tilted her head slightly, considering me, and then, I am yours. The words hit deeper than I expected. She said it so simply, so easily, as if it were a fact as certain as gravity. I felt my chest tighten. That's the big thing to say. Her lips curled. It is not big. It is truth. I shook my head, running a hand down my face.
You don't understand.
Humans, we don't just claim someone after one night. Thalexa let out a soft laugh. Then it is fortunate I am not human. I groaned, but she only grinned, pleased with herself. I have chosen you, she continued, voice softer now. And you have chosen me, whether you admit it or not. I opened my mouth, to argue, to deny it, but nothing came out. Because she was right. I had chosen her. I knew at the moment I had stopped fighting, the moment I had let myself hold her, the moment I had looked into her eyes and seen something I never wanted to lose. Thalexa watched my expression, then reached out, her fingers lightly gripping my chin. Human, she murmured, her tone shifting into something intimate.
Certain.
I swallowed hard. Yes. Her ridges pulsed a deep, unshakable violet. You are mine now. I felt the weight of those words. And for the first time, I didn't want to resist them. Thalexa's words lingered between us, wrapping around me like a promise. You are mine now. I had spent so much time resisting, thinking,
second-guessing.
But now, lying here with her, feeling her warmth, seeing the deep violet glow of her ridges, I finally understood. I wasn't trapped. I wasn't being claimed like some possession. I was being chosen. And in turn, I was choosing her. I let out a slow breath, reaching up to brush my fingers against her cheek. Her eyes fluttered slightly at the touch, her ridges glowing even deeper. You really mean that, don't you? I murmured. She tilted her head, amusement flickering across her face. Would I say it if I did not? I huffed a laugh. No, I guess not. Thalexa studied me for a moment, then settled herself fully against me, resting her chin on my chest. You still worry. I hesitated. It's not worry, exactly. She arched a brow. I sighed, running a hand through her hair. It's just fast. All of it. We went from strangers to this in what? A few weeks. Thalexa's lips curled in quiet amusement. I am surprised you lasted even that long. I groaned. You're never gonna let me live that down, are you? She hummed, pressing a slow kiss to my collarbone. No. I laughed, shaking my head. Of course not. Silence settled between us again, but this time, it wasn't heavy. It was comforting. The kind of quiet that only came when two people understood each other. And in that moment I knew, fast or not, reckless or not, this was real. Thalexa lifted her head, her violet eyes searching mine. Humans? I swallowed, my heart pounding.
Yeah?
Her ridges pulsed in slow, gentle waves. You never answered me. I furrowed my brow. Answered what? She tilted her head slightly. I told you that you are mine. But, her lips quirked. Am I yours? The question caught me off guard. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I hadn't realized how easy it was to say it. I cupped her face, brushing my thumb along her cheek, and let the words come without hesitation. Yeah, Thalexa. I smiled. You're mine. Her ridges flared a brilliant violet. Then, with a soft, satisfied sigh, she pressed herself against me completely, tangling our limbs together in a way that made it clear. Neither of us were ever letting go. The end.